Unique New York. Unique New York.
What are you saying?
Unique New York. You know, from Anchorman?
Man, I forgot all about that.
How now, brown cow? You know, it doesn't make sense when you've eaten peanut butter right before.
I
This
know.
message is brought to you by Harris Teeter, natural creamy peanut butter. It's not, folks, okay? It's not. But if they want to give me $10,000 an episode, they can do it. I do not want free peanut butter, though.
Right. I was going to say 10,000 jars of peanut butter.
That's like those people who do, it's not hoarders, but it's like the couponing.
Dude, the guy that was at our house yesterday fixing our HVAC, he bought like a pallet of air conditioning coolant several years ago when they were about to change the type of coolant that cars use. So he bought a pallet of it at 20 bucks a can, and he said now it goes for $3,200 a can.
Good investment.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's like way better than the stock market. Pays to know.
What happens when I have one of my best friends on the show? Well, obviously it wouldn't go smoothly. So when I recorded this, the system that I have that basically never breaks down broke down 3 times. So it was a lot of fun putting this together. I thought it was going to be a nightmare to edit, but actually it wasn't so bad. But today we have our first time, 2-time guest, Tim Ryan, the man behind Arcphor. And you guys can learn about them at arcphor.com or just check out the show notes, of course. We talk about Tim's love for Tesla, for business, and for something that has really helped me in my journey of fitness. Something that I kind of stole from Tim, where basically it's no days off. So I've worked out every single day this year, except for one, the first day. I don't know why I didn't, but basically every day this year. And it's something that Tim has done for like 1,400 straight days. He's run at least 2 miles, including several half marathons, full marathons, and crazy, crazy stuff as well. You guys can learn about him on Strava at, I guess his name is just Tim Ryan. Check him out. And it'll prove to you that he has worked out so many days in a row, which I actually think is absolutely incredible for business and something that more people should probably do. No days off. So without further ado, let's get into the show with Tim Ryan, the man behind Arcphor. So Tesla, you're a big fan of Tesla. I see you even wearing the shirt. When did the love of Tesla begin? Or how did it begin?
It began actually back at William and Mary. It's funny looking back about 6, 7 years ago when I was going to school there. We had done a group project on the future of business, and we had to predict what an auto manufacturer, in this case, needed to do in order to survive into the future. And so that's when we first got the insight to learn how they started doing what they were doing, following them all along. Strangely enough, I look back at that same research paper, and sure enough, a lot of what we said that he needed to do, he did do with the Model 3, but love the fact how he has disrupted so many industries, and it's just something that really hits home with me.
What I really appreciate about Tesla is the removal of a dealership,
Right.
which I don't think people understand how big of a pain in the tail that is. So you recently bought a Tesla through the process. Explain to me kind of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, we were waiting for the Model 3 reveal. That was a little over 2 years ago. So hadn't even seen what the vehicle looked like. And we were watching on our iPad. We put $1,000 refundable deposit down. So we bought it online, and fast forward 2 years. So just a couple of weeks ago, got the email that we were able to configure our car and did everything completely online in terms of picking colors and what type of battery that you would like. And everything is done completely online. You upload your insurance policy, you even if you want to trade in a vehicle, you just upload some pictures and they determine everything right there. So upon delivery, it's literally less than a 1 hour process. You go in there, you sign for your car, you check it over to make sure that everything is good to go, and you're in and out in less than an hour.
Are you like giddy, like a little schoolboy on waiting for Christmas at this point?
Well, it's even worse than Christmas because I have been waiting over 2 years. So it's almost like we're giving birth to a baby elephant that takes forever and a day for this thing to arrive. But yeah, I'm a little excited.
It's like your leap year birthday that actually happened on the right year.
Right?
Oh, that's funny. So we've been talking about. I've been in the last few shows. I've been mentioning that you guys are a good place to get graphic design and web work done. Tell me a little bit about Arcphor.
So Arcphor, I mean, in one sentence, we are modernizing the way the world sees business. And what we mean by that is there's consumers all over the place. Everybody is really, really busy. There's a lot of noise. And so we work with two groups of clients. We work with a lot of early stage startups. And one of the biggest challenges that they have is how do you look modern? How do you look like you've been around long enough that you know what you're doing and you can gain the trust of your consumers, the people that you're trying to win over? So we help them with that modernized look, but we work with them in a way that, hey, we're not going to sell you a Cadillac or we're not going to sell you a Model S or X Tesla when you don't need.
So knowing that people might not have the, how do we put this, the credibility or the brand that they want, that needs to be, or that they think needs to look like a decade old or whatever it might be, what are some techniques that you use to get them to be seen and to appear that they're maybe bigger or better than their competitors or something like that? Or how do people kind of come to you and say, I want to be something even though I might not be that yet?
Yeah, I mean, we start with asking folks that we work with, what are your goals? Where are you now? Where do you see yourself? If everything fell into place, how do you see your company? And where do you see your company in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever the case might be? And then we go from there from a discussion. But the big thing, especially with new companies, and you probably see this more than anybody, is that from a selling standpoint, everybody thinks that they need to continue to talk and sell more and more and more, when a lot of times they may already have closed the deal and closed the sale, and sometimes they can talk themselves out of the sale. And when it comes to marketing or websites, it's the same thing. They will pack so much information because they think more is better. Whereas a lot of times we'll scale them back and less is more. And a simple logo that's timeless can be more effective than something that is really complex that confuses people or it just blends in with everything else that's out there right now.
How do you? So I know exactly what you're saying, but how do you explain it to someone to be like, hey, actually, like all of this stuff that you think you need on your marketing collateral or your website, you actually don't need. Like, you need to sell them less. Like, how do you have that conversation? Like, because it seems counterintuitive. It doesn't seem like it's right. Like, why not show everything? Like, let's show them this entire like crazy book, but instead you're like, no, I need one sentence. Like, how do you do that?
I mean, it's really referring people to some of the bigger brands that are out there. So if you go to apple.com and you look to see how they are doing it, we will tell folks to go out, get some inspiration from those bigger companies, and you can see that there's tons of information that's populated, or they do it in a way that makes sense, that's going to capture the attention and do the selling to the consumer.
Yes. However, I mean, Apple has so much money that they can send towards something that they can be this simple piece. Like, most people that you work with, I don't have what, $100 billion in the bank in cash. Like, so Apple, like they're decades old. So like, I think that's hard to try and be like that, because it's hard to compare someone to an Apple. And I get what you're saying, but like it's that's hard. Like I like to tell people, like, you're not Apple, you're not Amazon, so you have to think completely different. So then, like, knowing that they don't have those kind of budgets, what do you do in that case?
Well, a lot of times, and this is something that you're familiar with, you have a book that I can't wait to receive. You have to be that anomaly, and business is done with relationships.
You've received the book in an early edition, so don't even start with me, brother.
And I enjoy it. But everything is based on relationships, and a lot of times, I mean, 90% of the work that we do, maybe even more than that, is based on people that we already know. We already have that trust. So they may go to the website and just check us out to make sure that we're legit, that we're not, that we are talking the talk. But so therefore, you don't have to pack a whole lot of information into your site. I mean, if you look today, you go to Instagram and people post onto their stories, and people don't even have the patience to watch a 15, 19-second video that someone posts on their Instagram story. So if someone thinks that they can post a lot of information in terms of content on their website and people are going to read it all, then they're sorely mistaken. So you got to have that Twitter type approach or the Instagram approach where you have to get the message across, graphically with, I mean, like the old adage says, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So that's the approach we use.
What is it? TLDR? Too long didn't read. Have you ever
Right.
seen that?
Yeah.
So the thought is that if something is too long didn't read, like, you try and sell it in something stupid simple. And so I like to tell people, like, try and do it like a text message. Try and do something like a subject line. And people are like, no, I need to do more than that. I'm like, you probably don't. You're overthinking it, and it doesn't need to be so much. So you're a big fan of running. Well, I don't know if you're a big fan of running. I think we even talked about this last time, and I was recording this 1,400 plus days. I've implemented something similar to my life where I try and work out every day now. I'm at like $130. You're at like 1,400 something, which is a ridiculous number. Why not take a day off? Like, why keep? Well, because a lot of people, a lot of coaches would say, 5 days on, 2 days off. You're like, screw it, I'm a rebel. I'm going to do it every day. Like, why?
The short answer, the thought of starting at zero again and to build up a consecutive day streak is, I just can't even fathom thinking about something like that.
So we'll keep going with that. But when did you start actually doing it every day? Then was that like the initial goal, like let's run every day, or did at some point you're at like 15, you're like, oh, maybe I could keep going?
Yeah, I mean, it's every once in a while, Runner's World will come out and they'll do like a 30-day challenge. And at the time, I thought the thought of doing 30 days in a row was completely not even in the realm of possibility. And so I hit 30 days and I was like, man, I feel pretty good. That's how far can we stretch this thing out for? And like you said, 1,400 days later, I'm still out there doing it. So it's mind over matter.
And then from the short answer, not wanting to stop and do it over again. But still, I mean, it's a lot of days, a lot of inclement weather, hurricanes, blizzards, vacations. You run at least 2 miles every day.
And a lot of it translates to business. And when it comes to hiring people, I mean, you hear it, I'm sure, way more than I do. How about people don't have time and they're so busy and my business wasn't able to succeed because of this reason or that reason. Everybody's got an excuse as to why things don't work. And to me, I leverage it the other way. I look at it in the sense of, you know what? I have made time to run every single day for almost the last 5 years. And I approach business the exact same way. So if you can just chip away a little bit every single day, then you're going to, it's the tortoise and the hare kind of thing. You see these people that start their business and they sprint it and then they die. Whereas I'm in it for the long haul and I'm the marathon guy and I'm going to continue to go until I win.
I think that's good. I did a solo episode on Zack Miller Live about a technique that I like to use around, and a lot of the stuff I use is finding it on different medium and figuring out a way to do it for myself. So you watch a TV show, if you're actually watching it on a TV, some people still do that, like ABC, on a Thursday at 8 p.m. is some show. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. But then to go back there every single day. And so it becomes this routine. It becomes this habit. And so by being able to do that with fitness for you or certain things in your business, it just makes you just like at this point it's like, well, no, I'm definitely going to the gym today. I'm definitely doing this thing today. And so it's almost like people decide what they want to and what they don't want to. I knew I had plenty of time to do it. I don't even know that I used that excuse. I just didn't go. Right. So how did you, so what do you think about that? What do you think about the whole like scheduling habit, like making certain things like, oh, I'm going to do this, because you do it mostly before you go to the office or start working every day, right?
Right. And and I had to do that because I knew once 8 o'clock in the morning hits and the phone starts ringing and emails start coming in, text messages, and there's just way too many distractions. And now it's almost like autopilot in the sense of I know that every morning that I wake up, this is what I have to do. So 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, I'm up and I'm out there getting my miles in. And
Get those miles in.
yeah, but you're energized. You hit the day. It gives me a time to process my day. What do I have to think about? What do I need to do? And so when I do get to the office, I can hit the ground running. No pun intended.
Ha! You so punny. Pun intended on that one. So you've been in business, what, 5 or 6 years now? How long has it been?
We just hit 6 years.
6 years. What's one of the most challenging things that you had to go through? How did you go through it, and what was the end result?
I mean, the challenge every day is a challenge. I mean, there's a struggle somewhere, and it's how you take the punches. And it's not how many times you punch somebody or win, but it's a matter of how you respond when you do get punched. And so there's always a challenge out there. There's a lot of competition, and there's always it's how you overcome that. There's always going to be someone that's cheaper. There's always going to be someone that promises something more than we do, and it's a matter of keeping faith and staying the course. And again, that's another way that running for me and business go hand in hand with one another. You just have to stay the course.
Why do you think running has helped you so much in business?
Because I recognize that it is a marathon and that you have to be level-headed about it. And just like business and running I've run thousands of miles, and I still have good days and I have bad days. I mean, there's days that I can go out there and I struggle, and it's like, my gosh, why am I cramping up at mile 4, mile 5 when last week at this time I ran 13 miles, or whatever the case is. So you have your good days and you have your bad days, and you just have to stick it out.
I guess that's called life.
It is. But the bad days help you recognize and celebrate the good days, and it keeps you in check.
What do you listen to when you're running?
I have a playlist. I'm a numbers guy, so I like to try to run. I try to listen to 2 songs for every mile that I run. So if I know I'm going to do 5 miles, then I should be able to finish that run in 10 songs. So it's a way for me to kind of compartmentalize, and it occupies my mind. And when I'm running, if you asked me what the song that just played was, I probably couldn't even tell you because my mind just kind of just goes. So it's background noise for me.
2 songs a mile. I'm like a 6 song a mile kind of guy.
Well, the key is that you need to look at how long each song is. I mean, there are definitely some artists that I have in my playlist where it's a 3-minute song or something. There's just no way you can keep to that pace.
Sure. Very interesting. I think you know that I've been swimming laps, have an iPod shuffle that's waterproof. I'll be finishing my 3rd book in about a month, probably this week. And it completely changes the game. And not only like from just background noise, I'm actually able to consume this information. And efficiency is going up out the roof, whatever the saying is, and it's been great. How are you efficient? Or what do you do to become more efficient?
Well, I when it comes to running, there's a lot of times if I know I have to do a presentation or some sort of a talk, I'll think about what needs to be said. And I think that that's a way that you can't necessarily overthink it because when I hit my stride, I just kind of run. So I guess the challenge is making sure that I jot down everything that I thought about during that run. That's one way that I try to be efficient. But the other is, yeah, I do the Audible thing or the podcast thing when I'm driving. So I have a 35, 40-minute commute each way. And before I would just listen to music and I wouldn't really get anything out of it. So now I have a list of the different business books that people enjoy and recommend or learn from. So I try to have that be my continuous learning opportunity while I'm sitting in the car, making my commute each way.
So I have an Audible account too. I still don't understand how it works. So you're buying one book or one credit every month, and then like you get different pieces because it's kind of confusing. And then someone just sent me a book the other day, and I was like, and I didn't have to pay for it. Like, how does it work?
That's a good question. I have no idea either. I know that I have a number of credits that I have in the bank, so to speak. And whenever I finish a book, I just download another one. And I've never run out of credits before, so that I have no idea how the whole book sharing thing works.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So a few weeks ago, I learned of this thing called Overdrive, which apparently is where your library has audiobooks as well. The challenge is that it works just like the physical books in the library, so someone can still check it out. So I have like a book that's like I'm 5 people behind, and it's a 3-week turnaround per. So I'm like, I'm not gonna wait a month, 6 months to get this book, four to 6 months to get this book. So I'll just buy it. Well, what type of business books do you like to read, or what are some of the ones that have really made a big impact on you?
I really like Shoe Dog. I thought that was learning Phil Knight and how he got Nike started. I thought that was pretty inspiring. Uh, I'm sure it's no surprise to you, but the Elon Musk biography I thought was really motivating. Startup communities. I mean, I've read so many or listened to so many over the course of the last few months, but I like to take some sort of inspiration and have that reassurance that you're not the only one that is enduring the daily struggle. And again, you just got to keep on pushing through.
That's a good way to put it. Use the word motivate for Elon, but I don't think he actually is the thing that motivates you. You have 2 kids. You seem to be, dad of the year a lot. How do you, and knowing a little bit about your backstory and just like, you being in high school and people probably didn't think that you were going to be the kid that you, or the man that you've turned into. Like, you seem like a good dad. Like, why is that important to you?
I mean, it's just, I don't know, life changed when you have kids. It's so, you can't even really describe it. But I mean, I just know that you have one chance to watch your kids grow up, and I want to take advantage of every moment that I have, and I want to do more or provide them with a better life than not that I was given a bad life, but I want to make sure that they have the things, and I teach them the tools that they need so that they can do everything and achieve everything in their lifetime. So they motivate me just as much as that I hope to motivate them.
You grew up somewhere around Buffalo, New York.
I did.
I think I said this last time, maybe, I don't know, but Buffalo, the Bill stands for boy, I love losing Super Bowls. But this year, you did not win the Super Bowl, but you made the playoffs.
We made the playoffs.
Like, knowing that it's been, 23 years or so since you went to the Super Bowls, and you guys haven't necessarily had a lot of good teams, like, was that important for you, for them to be back in it?
It means a lot for the city. I mean, they are such a loyal fan base, and we've struggled. The Bills have not been very good for a long time. The Sabres have not been very good for the long time from the hockey world, and it's just, boy, it changes the whole atmosphere of a major metropolitan area when you have a team that you can rally around. I mean, you look at what the Cavs have done for Cleveland. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's just, and so I'm happy for Buffalo, and the long winners, they need to rally around something.
The Bills Mafia. Have you seen what these guys do? Like doing like WWF style, WWE style stuff.
They take crazy to a level that it probably shouldn't go to.
Hmm. So you know that one of the people on my like bucket list to meet, and probably the biggest one, is Vince McMahon. Who is your Vince McMahon to you?
I mean, it would be. I mean, the easy answer would be Elon. I mean, just because he's been able to do so much, and so I mean, the entire world is betting against him, and to just to understand how much courage somebody needs, or maybe you do need to be crazy to take on the world and not listen to the haters. I mean, the amount of hate that he receives every single day, and how he fuels that as motivation to keep on going on. I mean, that's what I would be inspired to hear more about.
So he gets hate mail, like what? I mean, because I don't seem to see that.
Well, not necessarily in terms of mail, but they're the number one shorted stock in the stock market right now. And for those that don't know, if someone shorts your stock, they're betting against the company. They're betting that the stock price is going to go down. And so they're the number one shorted stock, and that's everybody betting against you. And to be able to endure that kind of pressure with news publications about how they're missing production deadlines, and anytime there's a car accident involving autopilot, I mean, if there's an accident that's driven by a Tesla, it's all over headline news. And I just read today there's 150,000 car fires that take place every single year, and you never really hear anything about it. But if there is one Tesla fire, it makes headline news.
I know someone that's crashed their Tesla. That did not make news, but that's a totally different story.
That would make me cry.
Very, very, very interesting. So when you're working with a client, when you kind of onboard them, what type of questions are you trying to learn from them, or are you asking them to try and gain as much information to understand who they are? Because you are different people, right? And you're trying to get into their brain. So what are some of the techniques or questions that you use to try and go from Tim to them?
The first is really how do they define success? If money was not an object, what would the perfect product or outcome look like, so that we can understand where they're going. Why are they in the business that they're in? What motivates them from that standpoint? How do they want customers to respond? Why are people purchasing their product or their services? All those are types of things that we can learn so that we can best suit them. And it really ranges across different spectrums. So if they're selling a product, we want to understand what that process is. Is there a need to go to an e-commerce platform? Maybe there's not. Maybe if they don't want to become the next Amazon, then we don't need to guide them towards product suggestions or things like that. So the more that they talk, we have 2 years, and we have one mouth, and let me say that again. We have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. So we do a lot more listening than we do talking, and the more that we hear from them, the better that we can serve their needs.
Very cool. Like, what are your favorite tools to use to run a business? Or what are the tools that you're using right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now, certainly when it comes to web development, 99% of the work that we do is done on WordPress, and that really it's for the consumer's benefit, because we certainly have the ability to code and we can customize code, but the amount of time that it takes and testing and security patches for us to do everything on our end, it's just not worth the client's money. Not to mention that once we turn the project over, then they're going to need help every time they need to update something. So, WordPress being an open source platform, it's cost effective. The number of plugins that are available, that reduces the amount of code that we need to write. So we can integrate everything and provide them with the solution they need, and it passes on the cost savings to them, and it's an easy user interface for them to do those simple updates. They don't need to contact us and rely on us every time they want something updated.
I think a lot of people think they need custom too, and
Right.
oftentimes they don't. And not only, I mean, WordPress is like 30% of the internet. Some of the top brands in the world are using it.
Right.
And I'm sure you have this question all the time. You give people this question or this answer all the time, where it's like you're hiring me for a reason. Like, let me help you. Let me consult you to do this. Like, do people ever push back? Like, no, I need to have this custom thing.
There is a lot of pushback, and the education process is a big part of what we do. But I mean, right now there are thousands upon thousands of different themes that are out there, and so with that, there's really nothing that is truly original anymore. And so with us, with the ability to go in and customize those WordPress themes and ensure that it matches your color palette or the different fonts that you're able to use and move things around, we're able to do that so that it truly does look like a unique custom site, but without us actually going in and writing it custom from scratch.
When a client calls you, what are some of the top questions or a prospect calls you, what are some of the top questions that they frequently ask you?
Cost is definitely one of the, everyone seems to be cost conscious. And then with that, the answer is always, it depends. I mean, we need to understand what the requirements are and what they want. I mean, even from our early days, from a startup standpoint, we had to win the trust over from our potential clients to make sure that we could assure them that we were going to be in business 3 years from now when we're working with a customer that have been, or a client that's been in business for 10, 15 years. So we had to prove that, or because we're a newer company that's been around 6 years, we had to demonstrate how many years of experience we have in developing websites or marketing or branding materials so that we can compete against companies that have been around much longer. And even on the other end, people, they may think that Wix is a good site for them to use as opposed to WordPress. And so the education process of, if you are trying to sell a BMW or a Cadillac, you can't necessarily sell that on a Wix type platform because the two don't go hand in hand with one another. So there's the education process there as well.
Very interesting. I've seen a lot of businesses similar to yours be really good at building other people's products, services, websites, brands, etc. But then they skirt around their own brand, and their stuff isn't necessarily that great. I don't think that's necessarily true with you guys. So what have you done to make sure that your position in the marketplace as a business is seen just as much as the businesses that you are creating and have helped create also have that similar kind of position?
Well, I'm glad that you think that we don't fall into that position. I think that we're like way, way guilty of that crime, and we are the pauper with no shoes. So we try our best, but I mean, we live in a relationship-based world, and I think that a lot of people, I know a lot of people do business with us because they know us, they know what we're capable of doing. They trust their friends that refer them, and it's surrounding yourself with the people that know you and support you, and leveraging that is what has made us to remain in business for 6 years, and we continue to leverage those relationships.
Where do you want this to be 6 years from now? Do you think about stuff like that?
I do. I don't spend a ton of time just because I'm so focused on the day-to-day things that go on. The big thing, we started the business 6 years ago because we wanted to have fun. We wanted to be able to help our clients and have some sort of work-life balance so that we could spend time with our families and do the things that we wanted to do. And so we stay true to that. And who's to say that in 2 years or 2 months from now, if it's not fun, then maybe we need to rethink things. But right now, we're having fun doing it, and that's what it's about.
A lot of people have heard me use this word retire recently, and that we need to retire things more in their prime. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to there, where not that it's on your mind at all, and I'm not trying to say that it is, but it's okay that this thing doesn't last 400 years. We just get rid of things. Like, we had an event for 4 years. It did really, really well, and I was like, no, we're just going to retire it. And people are like, why'd you do that? Because I can, right? And so maybe there's something else that you want to do out there. Is there another type of business that you would like to start personally?
I mean, I would like anything that's. I mean, the markets, everything is changing so fast. I mean, and who's to say that websites will even be around in 3 to 4 years? Who knows? I was really being, I guess, on the forefront of the electric vehicle side, and as solar continues to pick up steam, yeah, I see opportunity to help people make that conversion to that type of business. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of unknown when it comes to electric vehicles. I mean, that would be something that is really, really different than what I do now. But I mean, the movement is just beginning. Something just came out yesterday that 50 million people, 50 million Americans said that their next car was going to be an electric vehicle. So there's a big, big shift in that market. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
So do you think you'll start creating content around that so that you can become the authority? Because to me, it sounds like if you're really thinking about doing that and you want to win, you're going to want to be winning on that content game, and no better time to start than yesterday. But then if you can't start it yesterday.
Right. And I think that, just based on how much people hear me talk about Tesla, I have a lot of that, and it's finding, have a lot of the knowledge, and it's finding the time to get out there and share that knowledge, or even and write it. But no, you're absolutely right. That's something that you have to start yesterday.
You've hired your daughter before to do some of your Instagram posts. Maybe you could hire her to create the content that you're too busy to produce.
That's great. Touche. But no, but seriously, my daughter, I mean, she is, she wants that worker's permit. She's 15 right now. And so once SOLs are done and her exams are complete with her freshman year, we're going to get the worker's permit so that we can really schedule out some time. And I think it's great. She's motivated. She wants to pay for her own car, and she wants to earn that money for herself so that she can make the purchase. And I will be more than happy to enable her to do that.
So worker's permit, what is that?
So that she can start paying the taxes, and
you have to be a certain age or something.
I think you can get a worker's permit at 15.
When are you able to start working then?
I don't know if it's as soon as you turn 15 or if it's 15 and some change like they do with learner's permits and driving, but that's our summer project. Or as
but
soon
it's
as
because she's a certain age, because she's not 18 or something. Because you and I don't have to get workers permits.
Right. No, it's definitely for the high school kids, to make sure that the employer and the employee knows that you can't work more than a certain number of days.
I think I remember this now. I used to work at Domino's growing up, and I think I had to get a worker's permit. Because you're only allowed to work like 20 hours, can't work past 8 o'clock or something like that.
That's right.
Interesting.
Yeah. My first job was Perkins as a dishwasher. So I didn't know that about you, Zach.
You didn't?
No.
Well, as a business owner, you're kind of still washing dishes, I guess.
I took out the trash just the other day.
What's funny about that is, scrubbing toilets and stuff like that, and having to do that. People are like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Well, who else is going to do it? And I don't want to spend that money, so like, I guess I got to do it."
That's right.
I remember at Start Norfolk 3, I'm pretty sure you were there. There was a spill of water because there was 16 kegs of beer, and I
have a picture of you mopping the floor.
Great. that popped up on my Facebook on this day recently. No, I'm not ashamed by it. Like I think it's a great picture, right? So basically, I mopped up the floor, and people were like, "What are you doing? Why don't you get the custodian to do it?" I'm like, "Because I can do it. We're all human."
That's right.
Ugh, it's crazy. So knowing that your kids are getting older and they're able to have their own voice in a different way than before, do you think, or are you encouraging them to own their own businesses, or how is that looking?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I mean, especially in today, there's so many what's called the helicopter parents that they drop in and they fight the battles for the students or for their kids, like from a student standpoint. And parents have no business going to college professors to try to defend their kids' actions, and that's something that takes place now. And with us, with my wife and I mean, we teach our kids what they need to do to gain the skills to succeed in life, and teach them how to communicate with adults. And it's unfortunately, it's almost like a lost art, but one of the things that my daughter is doing is she has a client that would also like some help with Instagram, because it is a young person's game, and it's teaching her the art of identifying what the goals are for that particular person, and even exchanging emails. How do you write an email, and how do you effectively communicate, or not being afraid to ask a question if it's unclear what that client is looking for. So we do whatever we can to try to prepare them for the real world.
There's a part of my book where I actually mentioned you, and it's talking about how at the end of meetings, when you were at network zero, meaning you didn't have a network, you had just gotten out of the Air Force. Then after a small stint at Booz Allen, you had some credibility from those places, but you weren't necessarily known in the business world. And one of the strategies that you would use was to, at these meetings, ask people at the end, is there anyone else I should know or meet or be introduced to? Tell me a little bit about the genesis of that and how it kind of all came about.
Well, one thing that I did understand really early is that everything is relationship based. And that's exactly how you and I were able to meet. When I asked that question, several people suggested that I need to talk to Zack Miller. And so I reached out to you, and that's where we had our very first meeting. But
several people or one person?
No, it was several people. I promise I wouldn't lie.
Still making moves back in 2012 or 2012, 2013, whatever.
But it's and with that, I mean, I would even go as far as, if there was somebody that someone suggested that I knew, I would send that person the intro email that I wanted them to use, or the intro script if it was going to be a phone introduction of how I wanted to be introduced, because nobody knows better how you would want to be introduced than yourself. So taking the guesswork out of that, I would provide them exactly what I wanted them to say, not because I wanted to manipulate somebody, but because we wanted to make sure that they got it right.
100%. Okay, so Ryan Williams of the Influencer Economy was on a few episodes ago, and he says something very similar. He calls it his 3 badass stories. He learned this when he brought on Seth Godin. Many of you guys know him, world famous author and marketer, is on a show. And as he was getting ready and preparing the questions that he wanted to ask, he recognized a trend. And then when he had Seth on, he recognized that this trend is basically telling the same few stories over and over again. And if you think about it, it really makes sense, because people are getting in front of a new group all the time. So why come up with new content when you're really just telling the same story to a new group of people? And so with you, I appreciate that, because I think it's fairly similar. It's like, hey, like, this is who I want people to think I am. This is who I am. This is what I want people to know. And people butcher that all the time. Oh, this is, I mean, they do it for me. Oh, this is Tim Ryan. He actually has a third first name. It's Tim Ryan Peters. I don't know. Clearly that was a joke, but like, there's no better person to tell the story than you. And I think that's so important. So give me an example of what that script would look like then, or what's it look like now?
Well, I mean, it's from then even today, it's still very similar in the sense of, hi, so and so. I would like to introduce you to Tim Ryan. You had mentioned to me before that you were looking for some website work. I have known Tim for the last 10 years. He's done work on our website, and I can't recommend him enough. I would love to set up a call or a meeting where we can make the introduction happen. Something in the sense of that the facts are there and they're not going to butcher something or mislead someone, so that it just takes all the guesswork out of it.
So we've been doing a promo with your stuff over the last few weeks. We mentioned this a little earlier, but pitch the business right now. Like, why should someone hire Arcphor?
Well, people should hire Arcphor because we've had the opportunity to work with early stage startups for the last ever since the very beginning, the last 6 years, especially the last 2.5 years. And we've also worked with existing businesses. So the two are very, very different. And we're able to apply those new cutting edge technologies and apply those on mature businesses that haven't been updated from a back end standpoint in a really long time, so we can modernize them. But then while we've also worked with existing businesses, we've understood the lay of the land, if you will, of how those businesses were able to be successful and apply some of those procedures or methods of doing business to ensure that these new startups have the right things that are put in place so that they can be successful. So we've had the opportunity to see how both sides, what works for them and what doesn't work for them, and we can marry those two sides together. And it's worked out really, really well for us.
Distractions. How do you deal with distractions?
One perfect case that I'm doing right now before we started this call is I closed email. I shut all of the my web browsers down. I silenced my phone, and there's way too many distractions right now in life. And so if I know I need to get something done, all that stuff gets shut down, and I can't, no pop-up notifications, nothing. I mean, I just have to buckle down and get it done.
Love it. Too many people believe that they need their phone to be like attached to their hip. Many of you guys know I deleted social media off my phone. It's been glorious. I mean, I wasn't even really using it anyway, but like people are like, oh, how do you do that? I'm like, just you hold it down, and when it's ready, you just press delete. Like, that's how you do it.
Right. And I try to check email 3 times a day. I have a folder system that I have. So I have important, 4 to 6 hours, and then when I get to it. And so I check email 3 times a day. And what I do is I clear that inbox out and then into the appropriate folder. And then the important stuff that needs to get done right away, I get those emails knocked out. And then after that, then I can focus on the business. I can do the client delivery work, or I can do the marketing work. But I mean, we can be slave to email all day, every day. And meanwhile, your business does not move forward at all.
How do you guys stand out? How are you guys the anomaly?
Well, we're much better now that I had the advanced copy of the book, and I can stand out that way. But it's relationships. I mean, and it's almost been a blessing and a curse for me, because I'm involved in the Launchpad as a business incubator, running that. So people see me as the startup guy. And then with that, there's an event that we do once a year called Start Peninsula. So then people see me as the Start Peninsula person, and I'm the Arcphor person, and I'm the current president of the Rotary Club of Newport News. So people see me as the Rotary person. And so the challenge is that people don't know which person I am at what particular time, but The other side of that coin is I'm in front of a lot of people, and a lot of people know who I am. So it's nice when you can go to an event that rarely I'll always have business cards with me, but if I hand out two or three business cards at an event or even over the course of a week, it's a lot because I've established so many relationships with so many people already.
So it's a blessing and a curse, basically, having all
Yes,
those kind of positions.
right.
I don't even print business cards anymore. I'm trying to save the world. Yeah,
One business card at a time.
yeah. You do it with Tesla. I do it without printing business cards. What What's something we haven't talked about that's on your mind right now?
Wondering if I have my VIN from Tesla to know when my delivery date is. But no, I don't know. Life is good. I mean, you just have to take it one day at a time. I mean, it's just businesses never grow as fast as you want them to, but there's a process. And I think that there's a lot of times that we didn't win a contract or we didn't win a piece of work, and there was a reason for it. I can be brutally honest because we weren't ready for it yet, and we had to get certain things in place and learn those things in order for us to be ready. And everything happens for a reason, and everything is starting to fall in place. So life is good.